is Thursday, February 25th, and it's officially the end of February month for us because next week we're starting the new theme with the March month. Our theme's going to be what, Sarah?
Resilient, right?
Resilient and tolerance and endurance. So, any story that you have related to those themes, please contact us. We would love to hear how you get out of that mode and thrive. And we're here to serve, to encourage people to pick up their pieces and put it all together because we all need the thriving stories. And today we are so glad to have Nadine from Canada joining us.
Yes.
So, every day, we're gonna ask Sarah to kick off the conversation with our introductions, and then we're gonna talk to Nadine and get to know her a little more.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in and good to be back. I just go quickly because we have a special guest today and we don't want to take too much time because you already heard my introduction about 200 times, right? so, so again, I'm Sarah M. I grew up in Cambodia. I start out my life as a child beautifully in the countryside. But when I get a chance to attend college, I need to leave home and attend college in a city. While I was there, horrible thing happened to my country. You probably know the communist regime took over a country and they came in and they turned our life upside down. They um, destroyed our country. So I struggled through the system for 4 horrible years. But I thank God that He saved me, He protected me, and I'm still alive. I was able to escape from the group and escape from the country. And thankful to everybody in United States. I was able to be here and rebuild my life. So with all of that, I credit everything to the love of my family. Without their love, I probably didn't try too hard to fight for my life. But with my love in my heart, I want to survive. So that's my love theme. I am so grateful that we are doing this and sharing what love have done for our life. So
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, and she wrote a book about it. So she also have a website, sarahm.com. Go right in and check out her book and take a look at the story of her life. And if you want to know who I am, then I'm gonna do a quick two minutes, real fast. My name is Lee Tran, and if you're here for the first time, welcome, Nadine. I'm pretty sure this is your first time that you get into our group as well. So what we're doing here is two refugee women that met a month before the pandemic. And so we got a little antsy when the lockdown began. So I just have this idea that we're going to talk and to guide people out of the panics, the mode, and the PTSD things. And I called Sarah up, and she joyfully said yes. And I have a partner since then. That was March 24th, 2020. And we are here faithfully pretty much every day for a good 3 months talking just between the two of us. That's why we saw in the beginning, we said that is a story of two refugee women or thriving, something like that. And then we invite guests and we start our thriving story because at some point you got to get out of the trauma and get to the place that was happy. And that's what my story also. We ran away. We fled Vietnam communists, just like Sarah. Same time frame. I was a little younger than her. I was not in college, but through a lot of struggles, my parents, my family, we all got to America after 8 months in refugee camps and 7 days floating on a vessel that contained over 500 people, being assaulted by pirates 4 times. And it's just a lot of things that I sort of bury it away for 40 years, and it finally just resurfaced. And I just felt like it is the right time to share my story to the world, to encouraging everybody that if they have a story, they should not sweep it under the rug and should just let it out, because it feels so much lighter and better. And along the way, hopefully we help a few people that they pick up their courage and their love of humankind and humanity, of themselves and their parents, their family, and share their story. So that's the whole spiel. I talk as fast as I could. But I am so impressed with what uh, you have. Oh my God! You let me just run a quick run through introduction, and then we'll let you tell our audience who you are. So you are a not only international best-selling authors, you're a director, many board, and ambassador for Food and Hungry Canada, and director with the Canada Africa Network for International Trade. You're advocate for mental health. You are coach. You are speakers. You are change maker, influencer. I don't think you miss any categories in here. Provide a strategist and helping across the spectrum, women, children, vulnerable people who are helpless in this world. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm catching my breath. Well, we're so honored to have you here to share with us a little more in depth about your love out of all this thing. You're a CEO, global consulting practices. I mean, there's so much. Which one is your top love? I'm getting tongue tied here. Top of your list of the love that you want to share with us today. And tell us a little bit of your background, and whatever you want to share with us. We are here as a casual conversation, so welcome.
Wow. Thank you so much, Lee. And thank you so much, Sarah. This is phenomenal. And I just wanted to start by acknowledging both of you and your amazing stories of triumph and what you both have overcome. I'm just sitting here just in awe of both of you and what you've gone through. And I just want to say that I admire both of you as women and for doing what you do and sharing your stories the way you're doing this right now on Facebook and getting your stories out into the world. I'm 100% on board with sharing our story, and the more people we can share our story with, the more people we can help, and the more people we can recognize that they can help. We can help them recognize that they're not alone, because so many people right now in the world.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. People feel like they're the only ones that are going through things right now, and it's just the more we can share things like that, the better. So I thank you both so much for this. Yeah, it's amazing. So you said it all. That's what I do. And as far as choosing one of the things that's my love, oh my gosh, that's not an easy question. But I would say hands down, honestly, just and generalizing it would be helping people transform their lives, transform their families, transform their businesses, transform the way they speak, the way they show up, the way that they are as people, helping them become literally the best version of themselves they can be. That is my number one thing that brings me the most joy, and that I see people transform from coming from rock bottom moments into thriving and succeeding and helping others, and just the love that they generate to help other people, right? I read this quote a while ago that for one person that we help over the course of their lifetime, we help a minimum of 5,000 people. And when I heard that, I was like, wow, it's amazing. Just even if you help one person, it's like you're helping 5,000. So the more people we can share with that, the better.
Exactly. I mean, it is phenomenal. I caught like you just put a little catalyst, and the energy just keep revolving and absorbing through one person to the next, to the next, to the next. But what lead you to this love? I mean, is there a story behind it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I've always been that child that has always brought in love to, actually, you know what? I'm going to go back because there is a story around love, and it goes back to when I was a small child, and it goes back to the time where I spent many, many summers with my grandfather, who at the time was 106 years old, and I was 5 years old. And he had he was that person that he would write letters to people in prison to bring hope into the world, to share God's love with them, just do these amazing things. And I really credit to the seed that he planted in me at such a young age. And again, there's so many stories I could share with you, but that's the one that's coming to me off the top of my mind that really, really, and I didn't realize it at the time. I actually didn't realize it till, so I was a geologist, and I'll tell more about my story later, but till I got sick and I almost died because I wasn't living my truth. I was living what everybody else expected me to be and what I thought I needed to be in order to be deemed successful in society, which again, realized very, very quickly that that's not the case, right? It's from the inside out, not the outside in.
I think it is a common theme. Many women that we have finally found out that we can't just live for other people all our lives. Like, you know, you can only push to a certain time frame, and then you're just gonna have to say enough is enough. What do I want? What makes me happy? In order to get everybody else around us to be happy, we have to be happy with what we're doing first. But I'm really impressed with the seed that your grandfather sowed for you. And I have to say that I have a little envy because I grew up have no grandfathers. I only have one grandfather that he died when I was like 9 or 10. And I did not ever meet my other set of grandparents. So I always loved to hear, you know, people who have story about that grandparents. It's just so beautiful. And that is the seed of love that he taught you how to spread that love. So
exactly. Yes, for sure. And I was like that too. I only knew my grandparents on one of my sides. I didn't know on the other side. I didn't know them at all. So I can relate to what you're saying, and thank you for sharing that.
Right. So how did you start with your career with the love that you have that your grandfather seeded in you, and when did you know that you want to make a difference by using those love to influence other people or to impact other lives?
Yeah, no, like I said, I started saying I was a geologist. So I worked as an exploration geologist for an oil company. And again, I worked my way up the corporate ladder, all these things that I had to find my success. And it wasn't until I woke up one morning, I couldn't even get out of bed. I had so much pain. And I was 28 years old at the time. It was like somebody had taken a knife and was stabbing me in my stomach over and over again. It was the most excruciating pain I had ever gone through in my life. And I knew in that moment that I was not going to be going back to be a geologist. And needless that I say, the doctors, the medical system couldn't help me. They did test after test. Everything came back normal. And I was like, okay, there's something not right. Because I was literally at that point, I was 90 pounds. I was down to skin and bones. I was in the hospital every other day. Like there was all of these things that were going on. I was like, there's something wrong. And it was just trying to figure out what that was to be able to move past it. And it wasn't until I was, I always have a morning routine. I do my prayers and meditation every morning. And it was in meditation when God revealed to me that, you've been living since the time He gave me the age of 4 years old, where you repressed all the gifts that you've been given. And you basically were living your life based on what everybody else wanted you to be, based on, who you really are. And it was in that moment that He said, it's time, basically it's time to step into all of who you are, all of the gifts of who you are. And I knew from the time I was 4 years old that I wanted to help people. I was constantly that kid that was, bringing gifts, making cards, sending people things, like even when I was little. So I knew that this was my chance to, okay, there's some way I'm going to help people. I know I'm meant to help people. It's just a matter of, okay, how can I get myself better, learn how to get better, and then also help other people do the same thing. So it was all catalyst actually around when I had my first son 12 years ago, when I realized that I wanted to be a coach. And I started my journey as a parenting coach and got certified from California. And
I am in the midst of certification now too. Yeah.
Yay! Congratulations. Oh, that's
Well,
so
I
exciting.
have
Yeah.
completed, I've got my practicums and a few more little things, but yeah, it is exciting to be a coach because it is, I didn't know the value of using that, the certain trained technique to help other people to unlight their own wisdom. I mean, we didn't even have to do anything. It's just asking the right question. And I think that is so phenomenal. I've learned a lot, certainly. So from a geologist at 20 years old, how did you turn around and become you will become a psychologist or
Yeah, so no, I would say more of a coach, like a life business. I have business coach, a leadership coach, life coach, parenting coach. So I've pretty much done every type of coaching that's out there that you can do. Like I said, I started as a parenting coach.
It's amazing.
So was it a tough journey turning from a geologist to become a coach? How did you turn around and redo all your educations and establish for, I mean, 20 years is very, very young to train to be a coach. Was that hard to find like people so you can give them the credentials, like, okay, here comes a 20 years old person that who knows life more than maybe some people who in the middle age, but how do you convince them that you can help them?
Yeah, so I was 28. So in particular,
28, not 20.
so
Okay.
a little bit older than 20. Yeah.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, no, I knew that I just wanted to help people. And I started out, like I said, it was one step at a time, right? Like most things in our life, we don't go from 0 to 100 overnight. And my journey was I actually went to a play date. And I remember this like it was just yesterday with my son, who was 6 months old. He was just a baby, right? Because your first child, you got to go acclimatize them with other kids. They can't, otherwise they're going to amount to nothing when they get older. You have all these belief systems when you have your first child that you went to a play date. And I just all of a sudden recognized how parents were parenting their children. And I started having conversations with them and would notice that, hey, they're parenting their children the way they were parented. That wasn't necessarily the best for their children, and recognized very quickly. And this is one of the gifts that I had been given that I repressed when I was 4 years old that I was coming back to, was I kept seeing these connections, and I would see blocks in their life and their lineages that had been going on for years and years and years that they weren't even aware of, that they were doing that. And they didn't realize that it wasn't necessarily best for their kids, that their kids were sitting there, they were ashamed, their head was down, right? They weren't building relationships. They weren't building them up. They were knocking them down, knocking their confidence down, knocking like who they were and not honoring that. So it started, everything started just as a parenting coach. And then from there was, life coach and then business coach. I actually help people set up their businesses based on who they are, their true authentic self, and helping people recognize that when you set up your business, again, based on love, based on authenticity, based on vulnerability, based on who you are, and not comparing and not bringing in a business that everybody else is doing, the business will be successful because it's based on you and your energetic blueprint of who you are. That's in your heart, that comes back to love. So I started seeing all of these connections, and I call it intuitive marketing because I've never marketed my business, and I've taught so many people how to basically bring love into their business, and that attracts people like nothing else, because people can feel the connection between your business and what you do, and the alignment between both of them. And I literally credit everything back to love. And love is a center and the root, and in my heart, body, mind, soul, every connection I have, I bring love into it. So that's my story. And
how appropriate how appropriate is this to wrap up the theme of February of Love. Wow, this is so great. And I think the best clients that you can serve is the clients that what their needs the most. And since you have kid that age and you are mingling with parents, so that was just like a really cool to even see how you can influence other parents to be able to connect with their children. So that's awesome. So how did you get into the World Hungers, to be ambassador of the Food of the Hungry Canada and director of the Canada Africa Network? I'd love to hear a
So
little bit
those
about
both,
that.
I could talk for an hour on the stories with both of them, but I can give you a quick synapse. And basically, I believe there's no coincidences in life. And I believe so the one lady I had met with Food for the Hungry, it was in a passing at a global leadership summit that I was at. And just in passing, I've learned to listen to my intuition in every part of my life. And as I walked past her, I thought, you know what, I need to come back on the next break and come and talk to her. And literally the rest is, I actually created a foundation 2 years prior to that. I'd written it down in my notes on my phone, all about helping feed children. And literally the mission statement, the vision statement had pages and pages and pages written down of what this was like.
You're
and as
giving
soon as
me
I met,
goosebumps here. Oh my gosh.
It's crazy. And I met this lady and she's like, you need to check out her website. I went and checked out her website, and I literally can show you the notes that I created and the mission of this organization were almost identical. And I said, okay, you know what? I don't need to create a foundation. I'm just going to partner with you guys and support you guys. So everything I've done with our Lead to Impact Summit and various things, we've partnered with them. And yeah, it's just been phenomenal. They have offices around the world. In Cambodia, there's actually an office there. I think I was talking to Sarah about that when we had our first conversation. So yeah, and then with the other one, same thing. It was just like, for me, they're God instances, right? They're instances of how God brings people together to make change in our world and help people and put them in the positions that they're meant to be in to help more people. That's literally what my world is about. In everything
I think you are so right on the nothing coincidence, nothing. I think a lot of time God just bring the angel, come at the right moment, get the mission, and complete whatever you and that person have a joint venture or whatever to do. And sometime it remained friends for a long time, and sometime things just drifted apart. And often we ask ourselves, like, what did I do wrong? Why we don't hear from that person anymore, or this and that. But many times I think the same way. I mean, it's like you just receive whoever God bring to your life, and you receive maximum at that time. And then if things go on, we have things that we can work together, and it would just go on. And if not, life happens. So how do you bring food to Africa? Like, just a little snippet, because I know we have a little more time, and that's part of the love. I mean, love spread from Canada to Africa, and that is worthy to hear.
Yeah, no, it's about people, right? It's about connections. It's about creating connections with people and human connections, and trying to figure out, again, it goes back to the gaps, right? What are some gaps in some organizations that, say, for example, have wheat, just using wheat as an example, because wheat is something that's where I live is a huge export to Africa, and using, there's some organizations that are really struggling. So we go into there, or the organizations that are on the verge of bankruptcy, and say, how can we help you? How can we support you? How can we connect you to some sort of, companies or areas in Africa to help you thrive, so that you don't have to go through bankruptcy and go through things like that. So we actually talk to the underdogs in the export world right now, and really help them rise up from the bottom if they're struggling, especially now because of COVID, and like we can't travel, things are on hold, things like that. So it's been a very, very interesting area to bring commodities and create partnerships and relationships with not only people in our country, but overseas and internationally as well.
Well, yeah, technology really can bring us together nowadays. It's just like we're talking to you in Canada, and we're in Florida, all the way in the tip of south of America, of North America. So that is just amazing. Like, this is like a win-win situation. It's helping people up there to not creating bankruptcy, but you also providing some sort of food for the people in Africa.
Yeah, so we deal with the companies that have the food, and then provide them an outlet to be able to get that food, those resources to Africa, and connect them with the people that they need to connect with there. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Wow. What else you can tell us? What project are you currently working on?
So I just finished writing my book all about love. So that's probably my most recent thing. It's called Love Is a Guide to the Power of Love. So
this is the second book, I know, right?
My second book. Yes. Yeah. So
congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. So it was a journey. It's been over 2.5 years of writing the book and refining and bringing in chapters and deleting other chapters, and just to make sure that it's exactly what, again, for me, it's what God wanted to be written in that book, that is going to help people right now in the greatest way to allow them to open their hearts to love, right? To help them transform their lives and heal from their past and allow them to move past their struggles and pain and things that they're going through in their life. It's a real book about real conversations, real topics that a lot of times people don't touch upon. We hear about love, and most times we think of, the fairy tale type things around love, right? But there's a lot of
stories of real life, people's stories.
Yeah, so there's a chapter that I literally, as a scientist, I'm always interested in bringing in research into my books, and I did an entire study on how our perception of love varies throughout time. From all the way, I went to a bunch of preschool age children, asked them, what does love mean to you? And then all the way up to even nursing homes, and asking people in their 80s and 90s what it meant to them, and then created a chapter and some summary information and things like that on what I found. So it was a phenomenal, I learned so much about love myself writing the book. It was, one of those things that just eye-opening. And another one, we actually did an experiment on plants and telling the pea plants. Me and my 4 kids would tell one plant we loved it, the other one that we hated it every day, and we'd pray over one of them, and one of them ended up being like 12 inches high and thriving. I think there was like 30 some peas after a few weeks of it growing, and the other plant literally was like this tall and withered up to nothing. And we tell it every day.
Yes, I am not crazy after all. I used to talk to my plants. I used to talk to my orchids, and some people was like, "You're crazy." It's like, you gotta tell them you love them. And every day I would spray, and they grow like weed. Yes, I'm not the only crazy one. I mean, not crazy, but
and I've heard about this before, and this is how I am, right? Because I'm like, I heard about this before. It sounds kind of out there. I need to prove it for myself, right? So I literally, they had the same soil. We had a little cup. We gave it the same amount of water in the same windowsill, had the same level of sun, everything else, all of the other controls were exactly the same. So I have a whole chapter to talk about.
Wow. You know what? I need to get this book. I'm a scientist myself. My background, I was a research chemist for a long time. So I love data, and I love proof, and I love case study and that kind of thing. So when is this book going to launch?
Yeah, so we are over the next few weeks. So this book is really unique. Can I just talk a little bit about why?
Absolutely.
Yes, because it is a book. Again, it took 2.5 years to write. It is 33 chapters long. It is 340 pages long. Again, it covers, it's pretty much a guidebook, all a resource guide to do with everything to do with love. And it's something, even the cover of the book, it took us 30 some different covers to come and reach to the final one that we ended up putting and using, which ended up being, I told my 4 kids, I asked the publisher, I said, would it be possible to have my kids draw a picture? Because they kept sending back, photos of the cover, and none of them, I was like, no, that's not it. That's not it. And they said, yeah, by all means. And we ended up submitting, I don't know, again, it was probably 20 some pictures that they drew around love. And my one son, my 12-year-old son that I was telling you about earlier, he said, Mom, because I said, I'd like you to draw at least one. Can you do one picture for me? At 12 years old, they're not really into like drawing and stuff, right? They just want to play with their friends. So he's like, yeah, I can do one. I said, okay, if you do one, that's fine. And he said, Mom, he looks me right into the eye. He said, you know what? They can do all they want. He said, this is the one that the publisher is going to choose. He said that to me right from day one. And I said, okay, well, we're going to submit them. We'll just pray about it. Let it go. If it's supposed to be one of these pictures, they'll come back and say, yeah, this is the one. Sure enough, they came back, and it actually ended up being a very plain, it's a white cover, and it's a green heart that he actually ended up drawing and painting. And it's a little bit, and that's not perfect, right? Because it's painted. There's a little parts, where the green goes out of the lines, which is like love, right? Our love isn't perfect. God's love is perfect, but our love isn't perfect, right? So that's what we ended up using, was literally just a white cover with his green heart on the front. And again, there's a whole explanation in the book as to why we used green, and the green, like what green represented, and even the white, like how white is actually a combination of like all of the rainbow colors. If you have a prism in the window, it turns into all the rainbow colors. So it actually represents all of the colors that represent love inside of each and every one of us. And there's a whole chapter that talks about like why we chose that cover and what it means.
This is exciting. I mean, you look at Picasso, you can't explain his painting. I mean, by the end, I mean, but you know, I mean, the artists have the abstract mind, and I can't wait to see that chapter because, you know, you think of heart, you think of red, you think of the traditional, you know, it's the same gazillion out there is red heart, but why is it a green heart? And that is what trigger people curiosity, and that's why they want to read.
That's smart.
Yeah, this is awesome. So is that going to be on Amazon, or is that going to be on your website?
So that's the thing. So it's very particular. It's not going to be on Amazon. It's not going to be on anywhere online. The only way, like right now, we just started pre-selling the book. We're only going to be printing. So there's going to be a limited number of copies of the book. We're only printing 500 copies of the book to start. And again, this is all God that, you know, showed me this is what he wants. There's going to be, anyways, there's a whole long story that I can go along with why that we're doing it this way.
I think we're going to have you back at some point because
there's much
this
to
is
say.
very interesting. Yeah, this is very interesting. And I'm so glad that we have you wrap up the month of love, because this is completely everything that we have been talking about all month long, about love. And I am so thrilled that you're here to share with us. Wow, everyone, please check out Nadene Joy's website and follow up with her. I think your first book is probably just as it's called Uncover Your Purpose, Heal and Share Your Gift with the, I'm sorry, I'm trying to read
with the world. Yeah, that's right.
Yes, with the world. This is wonderful. And yes, just go to her website, and Nadene, if you want to share with us your websites or your information on our Facebook page, please feel free to do that. And I'm so glad that Sarah have met you and bring you here to the platform, because for some reason I just think that you're in Florida. I mean, you're in Tampa area.
Yeah, but we tried, right, Nadene, to try to fit you in the month of February because
of the love.
We don't want to miss this special month for your book. So
no, I definitely will follow you, and I definitely would love to hear more about that. So everyone, this is a beautiful wrap for us for the month of February of love. Please go love yourself, love your family, love everybody, because the world is much a better place if we just keep on spreading love. I love you, Sarah. I love you, Nadene.
Love you guys too. And I'm so happy that I get to meet you.